you about how you feel about this presentation today. So thank you, and thank you, Erica, and I'll hand it over to you.
Awesome, thank you, Jackie. So nice to be here with you all today. As Jackie said, my name is Erica Cook. I am one of the wellness consultants and certified health and wellness coaches with Ohio Health Employer Services. So just wanted to pop in. I am going to stop my camera just while I present here. And yeah, I'm super excited for this topic. I think Jackie gave such a great introduction to first, as she mentioned, recognizing that it's been an interesting couple of years, and in many ways, a challenging few years for so many of us. And, again, as she said, gratitude itself, and we'll talk about this, but it can't make the stressful situations go away, or it can't prevent so-called negative things from happening, but it can be a tool or a resource that we can use to help us get through them, to help kind of shift our perspective as we run into the unknowns, as we continue to run into the unknowns and the challenges. So yeah, let's get started. And I do think, this is such a good time of year for this topic. We just began a new year, which I don't know about you guys, but it's quite crazy to think about. We're already, 3 days into 2022, and here we are. And so it's such a great time to really hone in on gratitude. We are still facing many unknowns, but even outside of that, just bringing gratitude to our day can really help us be appreciative and aware of what we have in front of us, right? It can be easy at times to wish for things that maybe we don't have, or to compare ourselves or the situation that we're in to others, and we can lose sight of what's already there, of what is in front of us. And, when that happens, I think we need to show ourselves compassion. We are human. It's a natural thing that will happen at times, but that's really one of the many positive benefits of practicing gratitude, is that it can really be a reminder to help us shift our perspective and to really recognize, on a daily basis, what we have in our lives, and even recognizing the challenging things as something to be grateful for. And we'll talk about how to do that and more of the science as we dive in. But a couple of things I do want to point out. Anytime I give a session, I always encourage you to take what speaks to you. Anytime we're working on health and wellness and our well-being, we're looking for progress, not perfection. So, if we're thinking, oh, I really want to start a gratitude practice, be kind to yourself, experiment with it. And the same goes for exercise, or if, I'm trying to, maybe change what I'm eating more fruits or vegetables, or work on mindfulness, fill in the blank, whatever it is. Always looking for progress, but not putting that extra pressure on ourselves to get it perfect the very first time around. All right, so where are we heading today? We are going to first really define the difference between appreciation and gratitude. We'll talk about gratitude and some of the science behind it. We'll talk about some tips, tools, and strategies for how we can practice gratitude. And then at the very end, we'll have a few minutes to experience a quick gratitude meditation. All right, so that first learning objective, defining gratitude and recognizing the difference between appreciation and gratitude, since they are so similar and can sometimes be used interchangeably. And so this is really going to kind of set our foundation, so we have an understanding of what gratitude truly is. And I think it's a word that, we toss around a lot, which isn't a bad thing, but sometimes it can be nice to pause and really just, again, check in and define some of these well-being terms. And so appreciation is the act of acknowledging the goodness in life. Gratitude takes it a step further. It recognizes how the positive things in our lives, so like successes at work, are often due to forces outside of ourselves, and particularly the efforts of other people. So appreciation, in other words, allows us to see the positives and events and experiences and those we interact with, whereas gratitude encourages us not only to appreciate those gifts, but also to repay them. And so more research is being done, and I have some great resources for you at the end. But like I said, more research is being done on gratitude. And what is coming up is, that maybe gratitude evolved by strengthening bonds between members of the same species who mutually helped each other out. So kind of going even way back when, and really looking at, where did gratitude come from? How do we experience it in our bodies? What's going on in our brains when we are experiencing those feelings of gratefulness, when we're saying thank you to other people, when we're the ones receiving the thank you. And so I think it's going to be exciting as research continues to dive into this topic of gratitude. And I think it's exciting because it's something that we don't really, need anything for. Maybe a pen and paper if you want to do gratitude journaling. But it is something that can be easily accessible to all of us. And I think that's really important as well. And so when we look at gratitude, it really can be thought of as an emotional experience, right? And gratitude affects our well-being in 3 distinct ways. So first, how we feel on a daily basis. Think about when you are telling someone thank you, or you are receiving that thank you, how does that make you feel? It can impact what's going on in our bodies, and we'll talk about that here in a second. And then it can influence what kind of behaviors we engage in. And so the most exciting part, I think, of our presentation, looking at some of the science. And I think this is the probably most exciting part for me to share with you today, because we want to bring a little bit more to you. We often hear we should exercise, or we should do these things, or, these things are recommended to support our health and well-being, which is all really great. But we want to take it a step further and kind of give you that why, give you a little bit of the research behind, the well-being habits, but then also, as we transition today, really those next steps, the how. How do I use what I've learned and take one thing with me moving forward? All right, so if we look at some of the science, much of this presentation today comes from the book, The Gratitude Project, which again, I have referenced at the end for you. And you can find many more details about a lot of this information on the Greater Good Berkeley webpage, which is a great resource for all things gratitude. I think they have like happiness calendars on there. They have lots of great things. So again, I have that listed, but if any of this speaks to you, I highly recommend checking those resources out. So what can the brain reveal about gratitude? If we look at this first bullet point here, participants in gratitude studies who reported grateful feelings, so they were experiencing that gratitude, who reported grateful feelings showed activity in their brain. And so the study used imaging, and it showed activity specifically in the medial prefrontal cortex. And so this is important because the medial prefrontal cortex, that area of the brain, that is what is associated with understanding other people's perspectives, empathy, and feelings of stress relief. So this part of the brain that is impacted by gratitude, it is massively connected to the systems within our body that regulate emotion and support the process of stress relief. So that's kind of a lot to take in, kind of a mouthful. And so, really this research is suggesting that since gratitude impacts the areas of the brain that are associated with social bonding, so that connection, and we know that as humans, we need connection, and it also impacts stress relief, that this might explain how grateful feelings lead to health benefits over time. And so when we are, in a more grateful state, our body may be in a more relaxed state. And when we're in a more relaxed state, we may experience the subsequent benefits of a lowered stress response in the body. So think, parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest, versus our sympathetic nervous system that our body tends to go to when we are in those stressful situations. And that sympathetic nervous system is going to be that fight or flight, right? We are ready for whatever is coming our way. And so as we incorporate some of these practices into our lives, such as gratitude, it can help us handle those stressful situations so that we can more quickly bounce back to that more relaxed state, and reap the health benefits from that. All right, the second bullet point. A researcher at Indiana University performed a study examining how practicing gratitude can alter brain function in depressed individuals and may even be able to change and rewire the brain. And so this study found evidence that gratitude may lead to structural changes in the same part of the brain that the first study found activated with grateful feelings. So what does that mean? So this means that practicing gratitude may even be able to change and rewire the brain. And that is huge. And I think the science will continue to tell us more as more research is done. But as I mentioned, I think this is so exciting because it is a practice that, really doesn't have to require much time. Like I said, we don't have to be perfect at it. If you are on a streak of daily gratitude practice for like 2 months, and then the next thing you know, it's been 2 months and you forgot to write in your gratitude journal, that's okay. Again, we can show ourselves compassion and we can pick back up with it. When talking about what's happening in the brain when we practice gratitude, it is important to recognize, like I said earlier, when we first started, the gratitude doesn't make negative or stressful situations go away, right? Nor does it prevent them from happening. But what it can do is change our perspective of a situation. It can help increase our resiliency. And I know that's definitely a word that we've all heard quite a bit over the past couple of years is, what can we do to improve our resiliency, to be able to bounce back to our, quote unquote, normal state of functioning, whatever that new normal looks like for you. And so as we continue to learn about gratitude, we are learning that there are health benefits of gratitude. And so some of those being fewer health problems and fewer physical symptoms, right? We just talked about how practicing gratitude may allow our body to be in that lower stress state. And then that is a positive domino effect from there, right? We have better immune system functioning. Our body can focus on the processes that it needs to. It's not in this fight or flight mode all of the time. Like I just said, practicing gratitude can help improve our resilience. We can see and experience improvements in sleep, right? So maybe we start to think about what we're grateful for as we're trying to fall asleep at night, which can be such an easy time for our brain to want to run in 10 million different directions. Hopefully some positive things in there, but often, when I'm talking with people at nighttime is when we want to think about all the things we didn't get done or all the things we need to get due the very next day. And so if we can kind of start to shift that a little bit and think about what we're grateful for to help put us in that positive mindset. And I think it's also important, we just talked about gratitude can't make the stressful situations go away. And it is important that we still deal with those kind of negative situations and negative emotions, right? Brene Brown has a lot of great work on, specifically the gifts of imperfection, if anyone's familiar with that book. But a lot of great work of being able to handle and kind of move through those stressful situations in a positive and supportive way. And so in one study of 401 people, 40% of which had clinically impaired sleep, the more grateful people reported falling asleep more quickly, sleeping longer, having better quality sleep, and staying awake more easily during the day. And this was attributed to more positive thoughts and fewer negative ones at bedtime. And I'm sure that's something we can all resonate with, right? We know that we feel better the next day when we've gotten a good night's sleep. And so I would ask, kind of just thinking to yourself, when your alarm went off this morning, what is the first thing that came to mind? Was it, I'm so glad my alarm went off. I'm really ready to get up out of bed, excuse me. For many of us, it's, why is my alarm going off already? I did not get enough sleep, right? Kind of in this not enough mindset. Yeah, I'm still sleepy. I'm still tired. Right now, it's still very cold and dark. So again, just kind of bringing some recognition to that of, maybe I start to experiment with, what could I think when my alarm first goes off? Is that a good time to start practicing gratitude? Again, you find what works for you with any health and well-being habit. We want to make our wellness realistic. We want to incorporate into our lives. When we try to force it, oftentimes that's when it can be a little bit harder to incorporate. So when we're thinking about gratitude, is it in the morning? Is it right before I go to bed? Maybe it's on my way to work, or maybe I do have a gratitude journal that I just write a couple of things down on my lunch break. I have some more ideas for you and some more prompts at the end to give you a starting place. But, just starting to think, where could this potentially, fit into my day? All right, continuing our health benefits of gratitude. More grateful people report having healthier lifestyles. They tend to adopt better nutrition and exercise habits and are more likely to see a doctor for health concerns. Practicing gratitude can inspire us to perform kind acts for others, and then it can motivate people to really improve ourselves and our communities. And gratitude is one of the most scientifically backed practices in positive psychology. So I think, still so much more to come. All right, so we've defined gratitude. We've talked about the science just a little bit, right? What's happening in our brain when we practice gratitude. We've talked about the health benefits of gratitude. So now let's start to transition to, okay, so how do I practice gratitude? Because all of the information is great, but it's really that how. It's really that next step where we can start to see and experience those changes. And so you'll see a few ideas on the slide. This is not an exclusive list by any means, but rather just a few ideas to provide some inspiration or to serve as a starting point. Journaling, a gratitude journal, I think is probably the most commonly known way to practice gratitude. And when we are journaling, it can be helpful to be very specific and to be grateful for not just the obvious, but the tough things as well. Such as being grateful for, not only the obvious people. I think, typically when I ask people what they're thankful for, family is always the first response, which is absolutely wonderful. But also maybe the people that have given you some challenges along the way. Letter writing, telling someone thank you or that you appreciate them. Meditation, right? There are many meditation resources out there, and this can help us practice being present. When we're present, it can be easier to savor, which is the next thing on the list here. It can be easier to have an experience that allows us to savor the moment or to just be more aware of what is right in front of us. And then also mental subtraction activities, which I'll talk about here on the next slide, could be another way to practice gratitude. All right, and so as I was doing research of practices that those who are more grateful implement. I came upon these 6 practices, and these really come from the article 6 Habits of Highly Grateful People by Jeremy Adam Smith, who is the author of the book that I referenced, The Gratitude Project. And as he states, I'm not ignoring the threats. I'm appreciating the resources and people that might help me face those threats. And so just to kind of put it in another way for you, and he shares these 6 tips that might help to cultivate a grateful mind. And so the first one being, once in a while, thinking about loss or giving something up. And that's really what this previous slide, this mental subtraction activity is. And that's not necessarily the most positive thing to think about, right? And again, it's once in a while. And, that can help us recognize and bring some awareness again to what is right in front of us, to who we have in our lives and how much they mean to us. And it may be an object too, right? Or I think the example he gave was chocolate. If you really like chocolate and you gave that up for a couple of weeks, you may savor that differently when you have that first bite. Which takes us to the next bullet point, as we talked about savoring. When we savor a positive experience, research is showing that it can be kind of stickier in our brain, for example. And it can tell our brain, hey, this is a positive experience right now. I want to, come back to this and remember it. The third habit is recognizing the good things in life as gifts. And so, gifts versus entitlements, right? Recognizing that as humans, we need other humans. We may be very independent, but we're not solely self-sufficient. Our food, for example, where did it come from? Other than the grocery store? Who grew it? How did it get to the store? Or how did it get to the farmer's market? What is the route that it took, and how many hands were involved in that I could show gratitude for. Grateful people are specific, right? Not necessarily just going through the motions, got to do my gratitude journal, got to move on, got to let the dog out, all of the random things that we have to do in a day, but they're very specific. And, maybe it is thanking your spouse for, getting your cup of coffee ready in the morning. And that shows that you are paying attention, right? I'm specific about that cup of coffee that on a cold morning, maybe I'm very grateful to be taking that first sip. And then they show gratitude toward even the hard things, right? There are plenty of things that come to mind, I'm sure, if I were to ask you, what are you grateful for today? And like I said, family is, I think typically, I know it's the first one that comes to mind for me, and that is huge. That's so important. But then also challenging ourselves to be grateful for the hard things, because those are what often force us to grow as a person and to gain experience and to change our perspective. All right, so continuing kind of with the how, I have a few examples of here as to ways you may practice gratitude. Maybe it's writing things down. Some people enjoy art, drawing, saying thank you out loud, writing that letter of gratitude and really just paying it forward. And as you perhaps experiment with a gratitude practice, I would not recommend doing everything at once. We want to keep it realistic and just kind of experiment. And I use that word a lot because I think we're humans. We're always changing. Our schedules are changing. And so we want to be able to kind of incorporate it into our lives in a way that works for us. All right, so we have a couple of minutes left that I will take you through a short gratitude meditation if you would like to participate. And that really will, I have a slide with some gratitude prompts, so I'll show you that after this one, and then that will take us to the end. So if you would like to join us, first come to a comfortable position. Your eyes may be open or closed. Feet flat, firmly on the floor. Your back upright in a chair. Hands laying softly in your lap or at your side. Take a few long, deep breaths, letting your chest rise and fall with each inhalation and exhalation. When you are ready, let your eyes slowly close or bring your attention to one spot on the floor. As you continue to breathe slowly and deeply, let your attention rest gently on your breath, feeling the movement as it enters and exits your body. Each time you exhale, let go of any tension, relaxing your face, your neck, your shoulders, your belly, your hips. On your next exhale, settle your attention to the area around your heart, focusing on feelings of love, gratitude, compassion, empathy, forgiveness. With your attention at your heart center, bring to mind something or someone you are grateful for. Maybe it is something a coworker shared with you recently. Maybe it is someone you helped. Start to create that picture in your mind's eye. As you continue with your easy, relaxed breathing, perhaps you feel gratitude for being alive or healthy. Perhaps you are grateful for the last meal you ate, your job, or your ability to recognize the beauty all around you. Now bring your attention to the people who truly nourish you in your life and how they bless you with their presence. Feel gratitude for your own life and the many gifts that you have been blessed with. Start to bring this attention to how your gratitude feels in the area around your heart. With each inhale, let this feeling grow and expand, filling your chest, your head, your arms, your hands, your legs and feet. And with each exhale, allow any tension in those areas of your body to dissolve, bringing ease and peace. And now, as you return to your breath in the present moment, let your body remember the sensations of your gratitude as you wiggle your feet and hands, open your eyes, and come back to your space. Let yourself carry this with you into the rest of your day. And feel free to take your time, wiggling your fingers and toes or coming back into the present moment. All right, so the last thing I have for you are some gratitude prompts if you're looking for some inspiration to get started or some questions you may ask yourself. I know it is 12:30, so I will be respectful of your time. As I said, I have the resources on the very last page here. I hope there's something you can take away with you from our session today. And I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to connect with you all this afternoon. If you do have any questions, I have the chat box pulled up, so please feel free to type those in and I'll keep an eye.
Thank you so much, Erica. I needed that and really am grateful for being able to attend the session today. We